Hey guys, Coach Keith Keppner here, and we are going to do a little bit of a kind of fight study, but really more so an analysis of Canelo in his last fight against Berlanga. Now make sure you stick around to the end of the video as well, because that's where we're going to get to some of the things that are lesser talked about with Canelo, or I don't hear it talked about that much. And that's the part you need to stick around for if you're serious about boxing. First thing I want to talk about is Canelo with how he connects his punches. And this is something obviously not only in this fight, but throughout his career. Not that all of his punches land perfectly. Sometimes it's finger hitting and things like that. But I want to show you some very important fundamentals that will help you become a more powerful puncher and closer to Canelo's level of power. All right. If you look at the elbow popping up, lining up with the fist and the shoulder snapping up, very important to land with more power. He does this with his jab. He does this with his right hand. And then let's look at the left hook. You see that left hook placement right there? His elbow is slightly below the fist. The palm is almost facing him. It could face him even more for a little bit more knuckle. But I believe that's the hook that dropped Berlanga. And this is part of the reason why. It's the timing of being able to deliver it, because as we know, we can throw a perfect punch, but if we're not able to connect that perfect punch, it doesn't matter. It's not perfect anymore. But these are some foundations and fundamentals that you need to know in order to maximize your power potential. So first off, what Canelo does pretty darn well, not perfect, but pretty darn well, is cutting down the ring. And what I love about his ring cut down is it's methodical. It's a little bit throwback to Joe Louis. There's not a lot of rushing, all this type of stuff that you feel like you have to do sometimes with cutting off the ring. He's literally walking and not, abandoning stance too much or things like that. But he's really, the way I look at it is he's like a panther stalking his prey in the jungle. That is how he's moving forward, and cutting down that ring. And it is very, very effective. And that's one thing too, is I realize going through this that Canelo, his style speaks a lot to my style biases. I think a lot of coaches do have kind of a style bias. And if I were to say that I have one, right, we all do. If I were to try to identify it, it would be somebody who knows how to methodically cut down the ring, someone who knows how to punch hard, somebody who is a little bit pushing the pace of the fight, but doing it in a controlled and safe way, being effectively aggressive. Now, Berlanga himself, to take credit away from Canelo, Berlanga himself walks himself into corners sometimes. You see so often in this fight, he's literally walking straight back to a corner, or he'll angle himself in such a way that isn't necessarily Canelo dictating where he's going, but he'll put himself there. And so that shows his inexperience. It shows, obviously, we all have things we need to work on, but even at this higher level, how important it is to be aware at where you are in the ring. To know if you're starting to creep towards a corner, you need to go a little bit away from it and use that to get more of the center of the ring, or make the ring a circle. So often he'll go straight to the corner. And this is where Canelo is very good, because Canelo will let the punches fly, the very hard punches fly, when he has Berlanga in that corner. Because guess what? Now Berlanga doesn't have very much lateral movement, and definitely doesn't have any backward movement to avoid getting cracked to the head and to the body. Also, Berlanga is a little bit one-dimensional in the sense that he doesn't have a variety of defensive tactics. He gets caught earlier in the fight, and then he starts kind of changing his look a little bit, and that helps him, but it's a little too few and too little. There's an instance here where Berlanga was going off to the left side. He was in a position perfectly to get away and avoid the corner, but he, for his own reason, just steps over and literally lines himself straight up with the corner, making Canelo's job easy. Again, this is lack of experience. This is where ring awareness is so important. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what does Berlanga need to do to counteract this, right? Obviously avoid corners, right? Make the ring a circle, but also a great way to do this, or another thing to do, is to smother and use that smother to get you away from that rope and then turn to get you back in the center, to kind of think of like the ring as like a center circle of the ring. But when he does this move, he does it maybe only once or twice in this fight. He smothers in, but then he goes right back to where he was. Watch it here. Smother in, right back to where he was, and then literally walks himself to a corner again. And now there's absolutely a benefit against a powerful puncher like Canelo. I guess Berlanga also has power too, but Canelo has world-class power, partially because of how he delivers his punches, as well as there's genetic factors as well. But when he smothers, that's also effective outside of just trying to avoid the ropes. Why is it effective? Because it's very important. It's easy to understand intuitively to step out of punches, but a lot of people don't understand the idea to step inside of punches or change distance on somebody that can throw off them getting you, right? If you don't know if I'm going to be close, medium range, or out of range, as well as lateral, then it's going to make it hard for you to throw your punches, right? So this is where that tactic alone can be beneficial to muddy up the radar of Canelo's radar, but it needs to be used in this instance more, frankly, but also as a way to get him back to kind of that center circle of the ring, so he has more things he can do. He has more affordances. All right, now Canelo is also very good, like I said, knowing how to steer him to the corner and getting off big punches. Because when you have someone on the ropes, you are now turning them into your own human version of a heavy bag. It's a beautiful thing, right? If someone's in the middle of the ring, now they can go anywhere. But man, you got them in the corner. That's your time to really pivot, rotate your body, and really put the power together. And as long as you mix in some body punches, you can eliminate them exiting out. Now, something with Canelo is he's pressure, but he's not hittable. This is very important. So oftentimes when we pressure, we're hittable. And he accomplishes this in quite a few different ways. The most important way, that's the easiest way to master, is he keeps his dang chin down most of the time. I've seen in a lot of fights he'll pop his chin up really high sometimes when he throws punches, but in general in this fight he does a fairly good job of keeping the chin down. Sometimes he doesn't, he gets caught, but most of the time that chin is locked down. So therefore a lot of these punches hit the forehead, and your forehead is the thickest part of your skull. The best place to get hit, if you have to get hit, on your head. So he maximizes the likelihood of only getting hit there, but then he also does many other things. He sometimes does a slight step back, but then is ready to creep right back in like a panther. He also uses the hands very, very effectively, right? He can feel when someone's about to start, so he can step out, but then he uses those hands. He's catching the jab. It's a little flip of the wrist catching, and he's getting ready with his lead hand to stop the two. It's a very important concept. Oftentimes when we catch, we'll forget that a two can come after a jab most of the time. So a very classic thing that you can work on and that you need to work on is catching with your lead hand and be ready to block the inevitable two, if you're fighting an orthodox fighter, that would probably come, that you might not see because that jab blinds you a little bit. But so a really good example of that, him doing that as he's cutting down the ring. So often guys will be feet first and they'll jump out, but if we're going to stalk somebody down like a panther, we got to be able to do this. Now also as well, he lays back on his defense. What do I mean by this? So he's not always using his feet. There's a little bit of feet movement sometimes, but sometimes he'll just lean back a little bit and that lead foot stays exactly where it was, so he can launch his counter attack and be right there again. So being almost like a ghost, where it's like you think he's there, but he's not quite there. And then he's right back to get you. As opposed to jumping out hard with both feet, which I see so many people do, particularly beginners, but also many levels. Now also as well, Canelo starts what I call smoking, right? This is where the smoking Joe Frazier, right? You ever heard of that? The movement hides movement concept, right? So he's getting his rhythm, moving his torso, upper body. All of that movement hides what he's doing. Also, again, like I said earlier with Berlanga, what he needed to do, it muddies up the radar about where Canelo is going to be. And it's a very simple pattern. He's not just tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. He's doing the side to side, and then he's dropping levels on one of those sides. And that simple movement with variety, mixed in with a little bit of footwork and you shooting punches off of it, is enough to hide what you're going to do with typically the lead hand, the 1 or the 3, which is what you see Canelo do. He leans in a little bit, pulls out, uses his shoulder. That rhythm and movement hides what you're going to do, distracts your opponent. And while they're distracted, that's a perfect opportunity for you to hit them. And you see him use that to mass effect with the jab and with this left hook. Yep, brilliant. And then mixes a little feet as well. We need to put all these pieces together. Now, what does Berlanga need to do? Too often, I mean, he needs to put an authoritative jab out there. He doesn't have an authoritative jab in this fight. I don't know if he has it in other fights, but not in this one. And I don't see anything that Canelo did that took away the jab necessarily. I think that was just a unconscious or conscious choice he didn't utilize. But then also, he counters with one punch a lot of times. And I understand. You're going against one of the most powerful punchers around right now. I know, but there is such a thing as overstaying our welcome. Maybe if we counter with 4 or 5 punches, maybe that is overly dangerous. But 2 punches is not too much to ask. 2 is not too much to ask. He counters with 1, and oftentimes if he would counter with 1 more shot, he would be able to catch Canelo. And he shows that a little bit later in the fight. And that's something as well. When you're on this stage, this massive stage, going against a massive fighter as far as popularity and notoriety and accomplishments like Canelo, you see it change, guys. Some guys step up to the occasion. Some guys falter a little bit. And Berlanga, he finished the fight, so big credit to him. I'm not going to say he necessarily faltered, but you see what I've seen so much, where it wasn't until really the end of the fight that he started to get himself together. And then he started doing pretty good. But it was a whole course for him to get to that point where he realized he belonged, and he realized that he could do what he needed to do, and he didn't need to be, overly threatened. That's where guys will literally drop down skill levels sometimes when they step up to that extra level and to their, to their disadvantage. But you'll see he then later in the fight, Canelo goes for that same body shot. He counters with a combination, which is what he should. It doesn't all land clean, but at least it disrupts, keeps Canelo busy. Canelo isn't getting anything effective off of it. And stuff like that is what's going to allow us to be closer to winning the fight, if not maybe winning the fight. Of course, you could talk politics and everything else with boxing, but it would be a better showing. Then also the counter 1-2, man. Again, let's put 2 punches together and let's do it with possibly the best combo in boxing, right? There's plenty of great combos, and I love all of them. But like I've talked about in my previous video, the 1-2, it's a great thing for a reason, right? It's the 1-2 for a reason. So after the jab, he comes back with a counter 1-2 and catches Canelo. Brilliant stuff, brilliant stuff. But he's missing some things that Canelo has that we're going to talk about, and you're going to learn a lot from it or be reminded of it, and you can take it into your next sparring session or your next fight, or you as a coach work on it with your fighters and bring it out of them so that they can do that. But Berlanga, like towards the end of the fight, countering, with a combination. So he does the uppercut and then the jab. Stuff like that is so important to shut down Canelo's counters. Also get Canelo not to trade. Think about it. If you're fighting somebody and you're throwing, let's say, a punch, and they counter back with 1 punch, all I got to do is worry about 1 shot. After that 1 shot's done, I can get my get back, right? So whether you get hit by it or not, the counter punch, you can get it back, right? So you get 1 shot. 1 shot maybe hits you or misses you. Ideally, you make it miss you. And then you come back with 1 shot or 2 shots, and now you're ahead of the fight and controlling it. Now, Berlanga gives us a beautiful example of why you need to shadow box throwing hard punches. He throws a punch kind of midway through the fight, and maybe he slips on the logos and the print on the floor. That's a possibility there. But he throws a very hard right hand, and he loses balance and falls. This is why it's so important. I know you don't want to do it, and not almost no one, but so many people, they revert to not throwing hard punches in shadow boxing. You need to throw hard punches in shadow boxing where you twist and rotate and keep your balance. And we're going to see Canelo shows examples of what good balance looks like. Balance is one of the most important things as a fighter. I remember reading with Jack Blackburn, who was the coach for Joe Louis, and really Joe Louis is, at least like Chuck Bodak would talk about, really that's about the time that boxing really got into the space age and really started to become refined as a sport. Balance is paramount. One of the greatest compliments I ever had as a coach was another coach that was very accomplished, saw my fighters when I was first couple of years I was starting out, and he said, your guys have great balance. And I really appreciate that because a good coach knows that that's important. Now, Canelo, talk about maybe a shortcoming of his in this fight, because we all have, we're all human beings. We're all perfect. If we were perfect, we'd be God. None of us are. But he loses focus for a moment, and Berlanga, to his credit, tries to capitalize on it, right? Canelo walks off. He thinks he hears a 10-second, or he thought he heard the bell. It was actually just a 10-second warning, and he gets caught by that hook. But to down on Berlanga for this, he starts this whole macho thing. You see, the referee, he hasn't broken him up yet, and Berlanga's got 10 seconds to do something. So credit to Berlanga for using the opportunity and catching Canelo sleeping, right? But you can't just do that. You got to keep it going. These words don't mean nothing. This isn't the fight build-up. This isn't the press conference before. This is the fight, and you're allowed to punch this guy. The ref's not in between you. He didn't say stop. He didn't say time. Go. Don't pound your hips or whatever it is you're doing there. Now, Berlanga, that last round, finally turns on and starts really doing what he should have been doing earlier. He could have been doing earlier. Now, you could say, always there's risk reward. He could get caught more. But him weaving under and then him doing a great job of trading a left hook with Canelo and being a little bit out of range and landing it. Really, really, really good stuff. It shows his ability as a fighter, and he may have a very promising future. But he's got to be able to, now he knows he belongs on this higher stage, finishing the fight. That's why he probably hugged Canelo so much, right, for an awkward amount of time. But now he knows he belongs. So maybe this can allow him to get to the next level. I know he had one fight after this. I didn't see it. But, best of luck to him. Now, going back to Canelo and what he does well in this fight. So creeping in, like that panther, three the body. What makes that so great? The three the body, you can't go under it. And so you catch someone going off to your left side, catch him with that left hook. You could tell by the way the body posture was and everything else that Berlanga was about to launch off to Berlanga's right, which is Canelo's left. Canelo, bam, the left hook to the body. I would say, just to be a little bit like my dad, like he would talk about when we do fight studies all the time and watch fighters. After that, three of the body, let's come back. I know he's a little bit out of position, but we could arguably come back with something else after that. You might have to switch his stance around or whatever, but let's try to come back with a right hand if we can. Don't just catch him with that one shot. Then also, one of Canelo's really known combos, but it's a great combo that you need to do. The right uppercut, left hook to the body. We call that a 4-3-B. But that uppercut gets them focused up the middle, or it brings the elbows forward as well, and then that wraps you around so you can get that liver shot if you're orthodox. So let's see it here. He goes up, boom, bam, around. He goes up, boom, boom. And that's one thing is Berlanga, we talked about smothering. Berlanga smothers square, which creates a complete opening for that combination. If he smothered maybe on one side, putting his left shoulder in, or even the other side, putting his right shoulder in, head off line, that wouldn't be there the same way. But for someone that smothers in straight in, head to head like that, with the kind of high guard ear muffin type stuff, perfect combination to throw. And it's a combo that could be used against Canelo as well. Now, Canelo also throws that left uppercut, left hook for the body, or again, that right uppercut, left hook for the body. Boom, boom. Yeah. So lead uppercut, lead hook, or that uppercut hook for the body. Again, same concept. But this is where it's so important for you as a fighter or as a coach to remember or understand or to do the up the middle, come around, or up the middle with the same hand, come around. Because if you throw left, right, left, right, left, right, it becomes predictable. It becomes counterable. But the moment you're doubling things up, a lot of trouble when you double up on one side. Now we see as well, control and hit. So Berlanga shoots a shot. Canelo tries to shoot a left hook, and Berlanga leans forward, bending at the waist. Canelo controls him and then hits for the body. Now, there's a little bit of back and forth about if this is borderline. It's a little slightly borderline, but Berlanga's leading his head in like that, and Canelo's hitting him while he's bowed over. So often, I'll see guys end up in a position like this and not use it like Canelo did to put a little bit of damage on the guy. Let's do it. He landed 2 shots on that guy, put some damage. Canelo hits hard. Let's put some damage while your person is in an unfavorable position. Should you reach up and grab their head and push it down? No. But let's say they bend at the waist hard and you shoot a hook, you just keep them down there, bam, bam. Don't just keep them down there. Yes, you can tire out the back and everything else, but wouldn't it be better to hit them? That's something as well that I want to touch on for a moment. It is oftentimes Canelo's strategy. You hear his corner talk about it, and of course he did it in the Bivol fight famously to poor effect, is hitting the arms. Now, let me take a moment to talk about this. In my personal opinion, if you're going to hit the arms because you have big power and you're going to wear out the arms, yes, like over the course of a 12-round fight, that can have an effect. Absolutely. But I think the best kind of compromise there is let's hit the gloves. Let's hit the arms because we're aiming for the body. Now, there could be something to be said for maybe aiming for arms to throw off a guy about where you're hitting, about where they're open. All right, so if I'm boxing you, let's say, and I shoot a big right hook, which is one thing that Canelo loves, and I shoot right for like the lower part of or like the mid part of your upper arm, then you might be like, well, where's he aiming for that? Because it's not the body, it's not up high. You don't feel like you can go under it, and you don't drop the arm down to block the body shot. So it kind of puts you in this funny place, and it creates some damage. But then if you do that a couple times, if I do that a couple times, then you might actually be open for the next right hand, and you didn't even know it because before it hit there. So you saw it, and your mind knows, or you think it's going to hit there as a possibility, and you get hit by the clean shot. But I think the best balance, like I said, between the two is let's aim for the targeted areas, okay? Maybe on occasion, aim for a chest and stuff like that, a shoulder on occasion to maybe set up another punch. So hit hard, hit that shoulder, but then come up with a targeted clean shot. But the beautiful thing is that if people block the shot, you can still wear the arms out with hard punches. So let's just do that. Aim for target areas. If they block it, we're going to wear their arms out. And if they don't, we're going to concuss them and we're going to really hurt them. So that's my recommendation as a compromise. Now, a great, very important thing. We talk about missing punches. Canelo can miss punches, be on balance, and use it as an opportunity. This is a huge opportunity that you are missing out on if you don't do this, or if you don't do this enough. And this is, again, where shadowboxing comes in. I talk about the two S's, right? Shadowboxing and sparring. We must be doing that shadowboxing, or else we might not be able to physically really do this when it's time. All right, so he misses that left hook, comes back with a long right hand. Misses the left hook. You could say that now, some people could say, oh, that landed. Nah, it was a finger completely. It was kind of not the palm quite, but it's the finger part of the glove. So it's not a scoring punch. It's not a clean punch. It's not going to count in amateurs, not going to count in pros. But what he did get was that too. So whether it was a clean miss or that kind of slap like that, he got that right hand. He didn't stop. Now also as well, he does a jab, jab. He misses the big right, but then he comes back. And where does he come back for? He comes back for the body, which is what you need to do if you miss someone's head. Too often, guys will miss a headshot and then try to catch the head coming back up. And that can work. But more often than not, miss that head, go down for the body, and it's going to de-incentivize them from dropping under punches. And then maybe we can catch him up with the next headshot. And then he does a little bit of blocking and shoots a counter 1-2-1. Great combination and exchange. So here misses the shot, digs that body. Then Berlanga attempts to fire back with the 3-2, and then a jab, and then Canelo comes back with a 1-2-1. Has the shoulder in the way, everything else, great combination. Now, miss and land again by Canelo. Again, this is something, he's the high of the high, top level boxing here. Missing and coming back. Do you want to be top level? You do this. You miss the hook, come back with the right uppercut. That's what made that land. And now before you get it twisted, don't tell me and don't act like he purposely missed that punch. So often I'll see that crap come up online where, somebody shoots a hook and it's short, so it hits somebody's glove, and then they come back with a right hand. And then it's like, oh, he meant to do that. That was perfect. Maybe it happened. Maybe. But most of the time, just have the habit of missing, coming back. Don't make this so complicated. This is boxing. You got two fists and you got a person you're trying to hit above the waistline. And that's it. Let's make it simple. Now, how do we respond to a foul? A lot of times guys cry baby and everything else, lose focus, da-da-da. Now, this is Canelo giving us a great example of how to respond to a foul. What Berlanga does, he puts that head in there and he bumps him a little bit with the head. So here it is. So they're on the inside. Canelo tries to throw a shot there, and then Berlanga comes in with his head right up the middle, comes up and tries to put his head on his head, basically a butt. Then he controls with the arm. Canelo does immediately. This is happening in split second. Comes back with a nice right hand before the ref even comes in. Excellent. That is how you respond to fouls. You take care of it yourself. You're the fighter. You have complete ability to do anything you want within the rules. So let's take care of it. And the rules afford us ways to take care of things. So let's do it. Now, again, if someone's just hitting you in the nuts like Galata did to Bo, I understand. But with stuff like this isn't soccer. Don't lay on the grass and cry or whatever, right? All right, down next we have just really remember this fight and most all boxing fights, it's all about the jab, even at the high level. That is what is under talked about with Canelo, is he has an excellent jab. He doubles the jab. Now, could he do it more? Yes, in my opinion, I'd love to see more of it. But he has a powerful jab. He also has a no-tell jab, a jab that just shoots right out there. There's no drop before it goes, like drop or kind of loading up of it. And that's what makes it so effective. So you have that, and you can do it with power too. And he does it with power. So when you can make a jab like that powerful, it is one of the most amazing weapons you can have. It is now getting you to that level where people can't even see your punches. And now they're worried about that, and that sets up other things, right? Now, what does it set up? It sets up, let's talk about the two setups he does for the 1-2. The first setup he does, he shoots the jab kind of high or very high to distract, boom, and then right hand. Good setup, but now an even better one. He shoots that jab right for the target area. That controls the head even more. Right here. Boom, bam. And that gets an even cleaner right hand. But good little variance there, high. And then he does the next mix-up, a 3-2, right? So you're setting the stage for the 1-2. You landed it the first way. You landed it the second way. His computer is going to start, Berlanga's computer is going to start to say, hey, I got to stop these 1-2s. Then you do it 3-2. And it didn't land ultra clean, but again, it's just an example of some simple patterns and ways that you change your patterns to set the stage for your success. Remember, again, people think about Canelo, they think about the big, massive power punches, they think about the different little things he does and whatnot. They think about the cool turn the head movement, all this other stuff. I'm telling you guys, this is not what you need to focus on. You need to focus on the stuff we're talking about. And this thing right here, you need to focus on. Lead hand domination. It goes to the jab, but it goes to everything else. Let's watch this sequence right here where Canelo jabs high for the forehead, right straight for the nose. Then he does that snap jab where he snaps that elbow up. That's what that picture of it is, I think, where he snaps that elbow up hard, almost like a short jab power shot. Brilliant move. And then he does another jab. Then he mixes in the left hook, a very short, sharp left hook. Short meaning it's not out wide. He didn't reach out to the side rope to throw it. He just scooped it right around and hit with the knuckles. Then he goes back for the jab. Now, he gets caught by Berlanga's jab. This is where he had that hand here, but it wasn't high enough. Oftentimes when we'll catch, we'll have it too low, get it high enough. But then he makes it even better by he jabs again and he gets the jab because it's lead hand domination. He's dominating with that lead hand. He didn't just throw one jab or one hook. He's mixing it together. Very important. Now, that hard jab, like we talked about, that hard jab that's hard to see, hard to see, sets up what? Sets up a beautiful left hook, of course, which creates the only knockdown of the fight. That's where he gets that nice jab landing on Berlanga, and then boom, comes for the hook, and Berlanga reaches out for it, doesn't have enough variety in his defense, gets hit. Then, again, talking more about the jab, guys, this is what is underappreciated and understood, in my opinion, at every level of boxing. The jab. I know I had a great person in the comments say, in their gym, higher level fighters were telling them, hey, don't double jab, don't triple jab. Well, if Canelo can do it, or if Canelo does it to massive success, you should do it too. Now, in all of these instances, I'm going to show you, he doesn't necessarily land, but what I want you to keep in mind, he's not getting countered either. So if he were to mix up the variety of what he throws after the jab, or mixes up the combo, then he'd have even more success. But at the very least, when done properly and not done like a robot where it's like every single time you're like 1, 1, 2, and that's just like all you do, yes, you're going to get caught on that. But if you mix in singles and then double, triple it up, it's a beautiful time at any level. Don't let anyone tell you different because they don't want you to get to their level because they maybe don't like it. Then we got a double jab and we got a body head. He gets him to the rope so he can get the power off. Double jab, body head. He didn't land anything except he landed the headshot. Then he does that double jab, digs to the body, and then he goes back kind of in the center. You know, you could say, oh, well, let's maybe step around, things like that. So that's, maybe not perfect. But again, that double jab set up that right to the body. And then he goes back to the jab. Then miss jab. The jab can be your janitor, can be the cleanup guy. You throw some shots, you miss it. They're like, ha, made you miss, bam, jab. And we see Canelo show us that jab as the janitor, the cleanup move, right? So he throws the hook and then uppercut and then cleans it up with the jab. Then he shoots a 3, cleans it up with the jab and then a right hand behind it. Shoots the 3 and then jab right hand, because Berlanga thinks that guy just missed. I don't got nothing to worry about. He's going to stop for a second, because most people do stop, but Canelo doesn't. That's what makes him so special. And that's why you can be special as well. Simple stuff like this, that you just need a shadow box. Also as well, if after you miss a 3, because you could say, okay, those punches weren't clean though that Canelo landed. They weren't super definitive. But remember, after this miss of this hook, instead of head movement or whatever you can do, coming back with that jab, you're going to catch a lot of people with that. All right. The second thing is think about what it does to your opponent and what it does to Berlanga here. It makes him not want to counter the jab, the hook rather. So when that hook misses, he doesn't feel comfortable throwing a right hand, because he knows something might be coming right afterwards. And when you set that stage and you set that pattern, that is, again, how you're going to get your guy to throw less punches. And the less punches they throw and the less they land and the more we land, the better your day or your night is going to be in that ring. Now, Canelo misses a massive left hook, and comes back with a jab. Again, this is where you develop this in shadow boxing, throwing a big hook as hard as you can, missing it just like you see these guys miss in the fight, and then coming back and cleaning it up with that jab. A move that is so important to practice. Big hook, boom, boom, 1, 2. So he doesn't miss and stop. He misses, comes back with the most important punch in boxing, and comes right back with that right hand, throwing perhaps the best combo in boxing. That's just the most basic and ABC, but that doesn't mean it's not important. The 1, 2. But again, we're talking at the elite levels working. Then a great jab at the end. He doesn't forget about just setting that stage again with a jab, and then later it's a double jab. Sometimes it's a triple jab, and sometimes it's jab in the forehead, sometimes jab in the nose, and you can jab the shoulder, jab the body. Against Berlanga, who's a power puncher, Canelo's corner told him not to jab the body. That's decent advice, because when we jab that body, go down for that body, it can open us up, but it can also open up opportunities. Everything's a trade-off. Now, again, another example of the 3-2-1, guys, is just over and over again. See, I don't personally see many people talk about this with Canelo, but in this fight, he utilized it over and over again to massive success. And I've noticed a correlation with fighters that are very good. They miss a hook, come back with a jab. Now, here's another example of the jab being the cleanup guy and the resetter and the creator of more opportunities. Canelo wants that left uppercut and 3 to the body. He wants it. He does it, early in the fight, the uppercut 3 to the body. We talked about it earlier. It's so great. He did a good job of kind of rolling his head with that uppercut as he shot the left hook to the body. He wants it again in this instance. He shoots the uppercut, goes down for the body shot. Berlanga knows it's coming. He steps out. He thinks he's safe. He's not. Again, putting together the basics of boxing. I know when I was less knowledgeable about boxing, I would criticize people talking about the 1-2. Like, come on, let's make it a 1-1-2. And yeah, that's absolutely great as well. And that's a great change up for it. But man, that 1-2. So think about that. How often do you try to throw your favorite combination? Let's say it's that left uppercut, left hook for the body. And then you shoot the left uppercut. The guy knows you're going to go for that body again. He steps out and you just stop. Nah, let's be like Canelo. Come back with the 1, come back with the 2. I've been up and down with Canelo over the years. Obviously, he's a human being. He's not perfect. He's had kind of lackluster performances. And, I was initially really excited about him. I remember back when my father and I lived in Mexico and we would see him. He was in the same state that we lived in. And so I would see him on national television and stuff like that. And, I remember it was the Chavez brothers, Omar and Julio. And then Canelo were kind of the 3 main people that you would see highlighted on some of those cards. And out of all 3 of those, it was definitely Canelo was like, hey, that's the guy that's really going to do something. And then, of course, he came to the States and really did something. And man, great performance. And I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of his career, because it was good stuff. Now, of course, you could say, he had the perfect guy matched up for it. Whatever. Good boxing, good things to learn. Also, speaking about things to learn, guys, make sure you click on the link to go to my Patreon page to jump on board with one of my programs, whether it's the 4-week boxing training cycle that has strength training and boxing training. It might be the power puncher weightlifting cycle, or it might be the custom elite training that you need, where I will create a custom training program for you. You send me videos of every single round that you do. I give you analysis and instant feedback, so it's like I'm right there. And I've seen many people have success with it. I work with people in the United States, in Australia, in England, and in South America. And it's been a great thing for people that maybe don't have access to a good boxing coach or boxing gym, or they just want to get that extra advantage. Also, if you enjoy this content, guys, great way to support the channel is to buy me a cup of coffee. I love coffee, and coffee is my love language, and it's a great way to help the channel. Go down, click on that heart with the $, and you can drop that super thanks by Coach Keith a cup of coffee. I appreciate you guys. And make sure you check out some of my full fight studies. I combine this really tight together because I didn't want to get copyright striked or anything else like that. But also, it was a good opportunity to just highlight some of those most important things. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.